Hey everybody, it's Kara and Kristen, and we're coming to you to tell you some of the best things to do in Albuquerque. When you just go search and Google, you're not going to get the information that you're going to get from us. Kristen is a native. She was born here, and I have lived here longer than she has been alive. So I think we've got some insider stuff to tell you, so stick around. You won't want to miss this. Kristen.
Yes.
One of the favorite things everybody loves is the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's the world's largest balloon fiesta. It attracts hundreds of balloons each year, not only nationally, but around the world.
It is pretty cool. I mean, literally people come from all over the world for this. And when is the Balloon Fiesta?
It's every year in October during the first 2 weekends.
Okay, so the first and second weekend and during the week, the balloons are here and you should be too. It is the most photographed event in the world. And what is it like down on the field?
Oh, it's really unlike anything until you actually are there and experiencing it. They have this, what we call a mass ascension. So the mass ascension is when all of the balloons will launch off in a synchronized fashion. They don't go all up together because that can be a little bit of a safety issue. But, you know, each balloon basically has a time when they're going to launch off the field. And it looks like all of them are kind of going up at once. It's really cool. You know, it's something that everyone should, go and attend at least once in their life. You really can't experience it until you're actually there physically watching everything happen.
You know, it is very unique. Of all the balloon fiestas in the world, we're the largest, and it's the only one where you can walk up and down the aisles and actually be there and like hold on to the basket for them and feel the heat. It's freezing cold a lot of times in the mornings, right? And you're walking right amongst the balloons. It's the only one in the world that you can do that. You're walking right amongst the balloons, and they do their little propane thing, and it heats up. How does that feel?
Yeah, like you said, it can get pretty cold out there. You know, you're out there early morning, and so if you do go, make sure you bundle up. But yeah, whenever those burners are burning, you want to go find them because it will heat your whole body up in, just a couple seconds.
It's fabulous. So it's an event that lasts for 9 days. What else goes on out there?
One of my favorite days during the Balloon Fiesta is Special Shapes Day. And if you are planning to go on Special Shapes Day, make sure you get there even earlier than you would for any other day because the crowds, that's one of the most popular days. And you only have a few, entrances to get to the park. And so it can take you a while. You're stuck in traffic for quite a bit. So make sure you plan accordingly. But yeah, Special Shapes is so cool. There's, the dairy cow, Darth Vader, the pigs, the bees. I mean, pretty much any shape that you can, imagine is out there. So it's pretty cool.
When I lived in New Mexico the first time, before Kristen was even born, and I saw a blue couch floating in the sky, and I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. As incredible of an experience as it is, like Kristen was saying, the traffic it's pretty hellacious. During that 9 days in Albuquerque, our population swells more than double its size because people come from all over the world for this. And so one of the things that the city has done a great job with is they've come in and they've done a park and ride situation. There's several park and rides throughout the area and even on the west side Rio Rancho area to get you to drive right onto the
ticket entrance.
Yeah, what she said. I highly recommend that because it is kind of a bear. And the other negative thing is, do the balloons always go up?
No, unfortunately not. It's all dependent on weather and, unfortunately it's something that you just have no control over. So, some balloons will still be, they'll tether, so they'll still stay on the ground and still inflate, but they just won't actually launch up into the air, which, it's still cool to see even if they don't go up, but it's something it's something that just doesn't always happen.
So to plan for that, how many days do you recommend that someone stays to beat the odds that at least one of those days the balloons will go up?
It's really so hard to tell just because like last year they had one of the best flying years that they've ever had. They got to go up almost every single day, which is very uncommon. There are some years where they only get to go up, maybe 2-3 times in that whole 9-day period. So fortunately, you just kind of have to plan and, stay for the whole thing. It's worth it.
And the thing is, getting to stay here during that time, it's a little bit hard to believe that a place like Albuquerque, New Mexico could be overrun with people, but it does happen. So when should you start planning for it?
Oh, as soon as you possibly can. I mean, now would be, probably the best time, hotels and, RV parks. It's almost impossible to get a reservation, even 3 months prior to the Balloon Fiesta, just because of, like you said, how many tourists come for this event. And restaurants especially, it's almost impossible to get a reservation during the Balloon Fiesta. So the further out you can plan, the better.
And speaking of restaurants, there is some of the best food in New Mexico that is showcased at the Balloon Fiesta down on the field. You do show up hungry, and I'm telling you, it's good food. It's not like, I hate to say anything negative, but it's not like fair food. It's really good food with some of our best chefs. New Mexico is very well known for the arts and really good, if you're a foodie, this is a pretty good place to be, and get your food down there on the field and you'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something a lot of people may find objectionable is it's not like an afternoon kind of an event. It is early, crack of dawn early. What happens in the mornings?
So it's really cool. Within the past few years, they've added a really early morning drone show. So hundreds of drones will go up in the sky and create these colorful displays, basically featuring certain characteristics about New Mexico. So they'll have drones, make the New Mexico flag and the chili peppers here, different sponsors, Route 66, Sandia Casino and Resort. So all of that is just laid out in the sky, and it's really pretty cool.
So in the 9 days, that's just the morning. Is there other things that go on?
Yeah, I mean, there's events pretty much throughout the whole day. You also have balloon glows, which are really cool. Those happen in the evening, once the sun has gone down, and basically the balloons will all be on the field. They're tethered so they won't go up in the air, but when they use their burners, the balloons basically glow in the dark, and it's really cool to see all of them out there on the field at once. And one of the best parts during the balloon glows is they put on a fireworks show, and I think it's one of the best fireworks show in the state, hands down.
Oh, I could not agree more. Literally, this past year, I live on the other side of the mountain in Albuquerque. It's in a town called Sandia Park, and it's literally on the other side of the mountain. And Stan and I heard the explosions from that fireworks, which is way, way, way far away, like 45 miles away?
Probably.
And
close.
Around on the other side of a mountain. And we still heard it. So it is spectacular and not to be missed. All right, so we're moving on from the awesome Balloon Fiesta. So we're going to talk about the tram, and it is really cool. In its heyday, it was the longest tram in the world. Now it's one of the longest in North America, and it is so well worth the opportunity of hopping on and going up. What was your favorite part about going on the tram?
I think just seeing the views. I mean, there's, you see the Sandia Mountains from the bottom and you think, oh, that's a cool mountain. But when you're actually going up and you're hovering right over it, I mean, there's so many different, views and depths and nooks and crannies, and, just it gives you a much bigger perspective of what the mountain truly is. So it's pretty cool.
It is really amazing, and the ride operators are amazing at telling you the stories. There is a plane that has crashed, and he or she will tell you all about how that plane got there, and they tell you to look over and tell you where it is, and they tell you about the wildlife, and they tell you about some of the crazy things some of the operators do, like right on the outside of the tram.
When you get let off, you're literally at the top of the mountain, and you have like a little scenic view area where you'll see pretty much the whole city of Albuquerque and even out further. I mean, on a clear day, it's some of the most amazing views that you can see of the city.
And you know, if you're not from New Mexico or a place like New Mexico that has really low humidity, there's no way you can appreciate the views and how far you can actually see, or the stars.
Oh yeah, the stars. And you also have a restaurant up there, 10-3, and there's kind of two different parts of the restaurant. You have more like a casual bar type setting, and then you also have a nice, really nice restaurant. I would recommend, if you're going up there, to get reservations, because it's hard to get in there if you're just going up the day of, but you know, it can happen still, but reservations are definitely recommended.
Especially during Balloon Fiesta. I don't know if you'll get in during that time. Yes, the restaurant is amazing. The bar is beautiful. The views are incredible. We actually celebrated Kristen's first closing in real estate up there, and it's a very memorable place to go. Once you get let off, what are some of the other options?
Yeah, so I mean, you can walk around pretty much right when you get off. You can see where the ski lift is. There's hiking trails around, and you know, you can actually even hike up the La Luz Trail, which is basically from the base of the mountain all the way to the top. A lot of people don't like to hike back down because, I mean, going up is a trek in and of itself. So a lot of people just take the tram back down and get you to your car. And because it is so much higher in elevation, it is a lot cooler than it is in town. I mean, if it's in the winter, I mean, it's pretty cold up there, but even in, you know, the spring, summer months, you definitely want to bring a jacket, because it can get a little chilly, especially if it's windy up there. Right.
It's usually about 20 degrees cooler at the top than it is in town. So that's a little bit of a culture shock.
Right. But one of the cool things about the tram is it is year round. So as long as the weather is good, you know, you can go up. So another one of the really cool things to do in Albuquerque is hike. I mean, pretty much wherever you are in the state, there's hundreds of hiking trails to explore. What are some of your favorite trails?
You know, I'm biased because I live in the East Mountains, and so my favorite trails are in the East Mountains. However, in Albuquerque, you can hike along the Rio Grande, which is the river, and there are cottonwoods that are there, and when they're changing colors, that it's the most peaceful hike. Or you can even ride a bicycle. There are hundreds of bike trails throughout Albuquerque as well. And so there are a lot of people that are super physically fit and into fitness and into outdoors stuff, because we do have hiking, we have skiing, we have all that. For me, I really like Cienega Trail. And Cienega Trail it's a hard trail. It's not just a regular trail. It's a pretty hard trail, but the reward at the end is just so awesome. You know, you can bring your lunch, you've got a backpack on, and everybody just kind of, we did it, and then you're there, and it is such a beautiful state. Literally the most beautiful skies that I've ever seen. There's also the 10K Trail, and that's a little further up the mountain, and so depending on what time of year it is, you can kind of plan your trails out based on what temperature you want. So 10K Trail is pretty well known, and it's a much easier, gentle hike.
There's something for everyone, you know, so you have those beginner trails, you have those intermediate trails, and then you do have those more advanced trails. And another cool thing is that you don't always have to go, you know, up and down in elevation. There are a lot of trails where it's pretty much, you know,
a walk.
Because
of the elevation, it's very important that you really, really drink heavily, a lot of alcohol. Just kidding. Just kidding. You need to drink a ton of water. You need to avoid caffeine. Those things will make altitude sickness, make your trip no fun at all. So when you are used to sea level and you come here and you try and do the same hike that you did at sea level, what happens?
You're not as in shape as you may think you are. So another one of the really cool things about Albuquerque is the Albuquerque Biopark, which is basically comprised of a few different things: the aquarium, the zoo, the botanic gardens, and Tingley Beach. So tell us a little bit about Tingley Beach.
You know, Tingley Beach, I know that one really well because my husband actually was in charge of putting that in. He worked for the Biopark. He was a curator of plants there, and it used to be a place that people would avoid. It was kind of run down and uncared for and unkept. And the mayor at the time, Marty Chavez, wanted to just clean it up and make it a beautiful place where families would have a great place to go. And oh my goodness, it is so much fun. It is it has 4 lakes, maybe it's 3, but I think it's 4 separate lakes that are actual lakes. It has a place for people to go and play with their remote control boats. Mm-hmm. It has fishing, and kids can fish for free, right?
For free, yeah.
And the train runs from the Biopark, which is the Botanic Garden and the aquarium, and the train runs through Tingley and goes all the way to the zoo. It's such a cool setup. I tell you what, for a town like Albuquerque to have something this magnificent, the zoo is an accredited zoo as well, so that puts it in the top 10% of all zoos. Pretty cool.
During the summer, they usually have like music festivals where, people will bring blankets or chairs and sit in the grass area and just listen to music all night, which is pretty cool.
And on top of all the other cool stuff that the city provides for its citizens here, the River of Lights has got to be one of your favorites.
Oh, the River of Lights is pretty cool. It usually happens, obviously, during the holidays around Christmas time. And there's just hundreds of displays of lights and, different sorts of animals, dinosaurs and alligators and, elephants. It's just pretty crazy. And I think it was actually just recently on one of those holiday light shows.
That would not surprise me. Mm-hmm. Guys, it's spectacular.
It's wild. And it just keeps getting better and better each year. They add to it and just make it even more grand.
There's no way we can talk about Albuquerque, New Mexico without talking about Breaking Bad. There are tours, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. They have an RV pretty much like the one in the show, and you can go on it and they'll basically take you around a lot of the spots in town where filming happened. And it's really cool, especially when you live here, to see, everyday places that you go to or, even eat out at, right there in the show. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it does make it feel a little bit more familiar. So what are some of the most iconic places that were in the show that stand out the most to you?
Yeah, so Walter White's car wash, A1A, that was a huge part of the show. Here, actually in real life, it used to be the Octopus Car Wash. Now it's Mr. Car Wash, but it's the car wash I go to on a regular basis, which is kind of cool. Now in the show, you had Los Pollos Hermanos, basically a fast food chain in the store. Here, it's one of our Twister's burrito store, and the exterior of Twister's was used in the show to film Los Pollos Hermanos. So kind of cool.
So you're driving down the street and you're thinking about Breaking Bad because you're seeing all the stuff. So the Candy Lady, this blows my mind in doing the research for this. The Candy Lady, which is an iconic candy store that's in Old Town of Albuquerque and has been there forever, and you must go there when you come to town. You can actually stay in one of the rooms where some of this was filmed.
Yeah, pretty cool. And the Candy Lady actually makes the blue crystal meth from the show in candy.
The house that he lived in, people actually own that house and they live in it, and they really would prefer that you not come gawk, but the RV tour that you talked about, will take you by and you can see the outside of the house. So
right, yeah, right when the show was airing and it was super popular, there would just be hundreds of people showing up at the house, and like you said, somebody does own it, so it's good to be respectful of that. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you watching this video.
And guys, seriously, if you're at all interested in Albuquerque, give us a call. We'll be happy to give you the ins, the outs, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And start your investing. You want to build wealth, this is a spot to do it. Thanks.
Till next time.